You've been no stranger to controversy on the internet.
Paul Saladino is scaremongering. I think like 100% of the people on The Biggest Loser gained the way back at the end of the show.
Oh, that's sad. I didn't know that.
I've had an evolution also, right?
If you made me testicles, I would eat it.
We can go down that rabbit hole in a second. So I did this tweet. I did this piece of content on Twitter about raw milk, what it is, etc. And, you know, X has this section where you can write something about your video. You can write a caption. In the caption, I wrote, I think raw milk is safe. I think raw eggs are safe. And I would give raw milk to my children. I don't have children, but I wrote that I would hypothetically give raw milk to my children. And Twitter exploded. I think I said something like, I would give raw honey and raw milk to my children. Of course, everyone on Twitter wants to correct you. Children less than 1 year old can't have honey. And it's like, yeah, I know. That's sure. But if you say that you are going to give raw milk to your children, if I had children, I'm afraid that the Child Protective Services would have come to Costa Rica to take them away from you. You cannot give raw milk to your children. You can't say you're doing this. This is crazy town. That's something that humans have done for thousands of years, especially raw milk from well-known farms that is vetted and tested consistently. You can't say you're giving that to your kids. It's pretty crazy. People exploded. And then I had multiple news outlets contact me about that piece of content saying, do you stand by this claim that you would give raw milk to your children? And yes, I would give raw milk. It's my decision, but they don't think it's safe. It's crazy.
Well, it's so crazy because we had Gwyneth Paltrow on the show and we were talking to her and we were just saying like, hey, like 100 years ago, they just called it milk.
Yeah.
You know, like all these terms that people come up with that they invent to describe things that have been around, to your point, for thousands of years is wild. They should do it the other way. They should say pasteurized milk and milk.
And milk. Right? Yes.
I'm going to shock everyone. I have been giving my kids raw milk, gasp, for the last year. They fucking love it. Not only do I give them raw milk, I give them raw chocolate milk, which is a great manipulation because they get all the vitamins and nutrients. My son drinks it every single night before he goes to bed. Michael and I drink it every single day. We found a reputable farm. You know the farm. You're actually the one that told me about the farm.
Don't they sell it in Erewhon now in California? Is it?
They do sell raw milk in California. In California, raw milk is legal to the consumer in grocery stores. Mm-hmm. So you can get raw milk, and many other states as well. Not Florida, not Texas, but some states you can get raw milk direct to consumer in the grocery store.
I will give, California some credit in that they typically, like that population, we lived there for a long time, is typically ahead of the curve when it comes to health.
Some
right?
things.
Some things. Yeah, some things. But in terms of like, you usually have a lot of healthier food options there. I mean, we've lived in Texas now for 4 years, and I'm not going to lie, I love Texas, but it is harder to find healthy alternatives here compared to when we lived in California. We have to really seek it out.
I don't doubt it. And I got in last night on the plane and I went to Sprouts, and I don't think I'm going to get Sprouts in trouble with this. I've said this before on my social media, but there is this little loophole, that in Texas you can do this pet kefir. And there's an amazing farm in California that makes a pet kefir, and it's a raw pet kefir. It's legal to give raw kefir, which is fermented milk, to your pet, but you can't give it to a human. You can give it to your dog, but you can't give it to a human. So I'll just go to Sprouts and buy their raw pet kefir from this farm because I know this farm and I trust this farm, and I know that that's still a high quality product. There's no difference in the quality of the pet kefir versus the other one. And then I realized there's actually a place here in Austin now that's selling raw milk. I guess they're doing it legally, but they're probably like a distributor. So they're getting raw milk and they're selling it out of there. It's my friend's place called the Satiation Center downtown in Austin. You can just go in and buy. They get like deliveries of raw milk, and you can just get gallons of it. So I went in there and I was like, oh great, you guys have raw milk, and I could actually pick it up. But I'm sure there's loopholes, and like they have to do a little dance to say like, oh, this is how we can sell the raw milk.
For people who are like, what are you talking about raw milk? What are the differences between raw and pasteurized, and what are the benefits of raw milk? Because I'm sold on the benefits.
Yeah, raw milk's pretty amazing. Like you said, it's so true. Raw milk is just milk. It's milk that hasn't been heated and pasteurized. And I love that you brought up this history. 100 or so years ago, all milk was raw. And what happened is, there was an urbanization, there was an industrialization, or the industrial revolution is in full swing 100 years ago, and people are moving into cities. And the milk that we've had for 100 years on farms that we're used to eating or drinking in the 1800s is now we want that in the city. And so they realize, hey, if we're going to milk cows in a city, we can't do it in the same sanitary conditions. They were milking cows in sub-sanitary conditions. They were feeding the cows swill, which are the spent grains of beer and alcohol production. So they were feeding the cows garbage. They were milking them in substandard conditions, and the milk was problematic. And this is where pasteurization came in and probably saved a lot of lives, because they were basically producing milk in a non-sanitary way. It would be like feeding someone sushi, things we do today, in a sub-sanitary environment. People aren't washing their hands, the fish isn't clean, et cetera, et cetera. Or getting vegetables from a farm and not washing the dirt off. People are going to get sick if you do these things improperly. Any sort of uncooked food can potentially transmit infections to humans. So pasteurization comes in, and it's the heating of the milk. And so people can drink the milk, they just sterilize the milk after it's been milked. But historically, in conditions where you're getting milk from a cow on a farm and you're washing the udders and the cow is eating good food and the cow is healthy, and you can collect the milk into a sterile or a clean vessel and chill it quickly, that's a much different operation than taking milk that's from a cow that's not fed the right foods or that's milked in unsanitary conditions and trying to feed that to humans unpasteurized. So raw milk is essentially milk that has not been heated or sterilized. And though sterilization, the pasteurization of milk, sounds good on the surface, the problem is that it changes the conformation of certain proteins in the milk. And the research looks like it's a whey protein. Some people thought for a while that maybe the sterilization of the milk was killing bacteria, and it does. There are numerous different types of bacteria in a raw milk, just like whether it's a human breast milk or a cow's milk from an udder. There is a normal flora in that milk, and that will affect humans in a positive way. These are beneficial organisms, things that we have been in contact with throughout our history as humans, things that we were in contact with from our mother's breast milk, which is obviously usually not pasteurized unless it's being boiled or given to someone else. So we have the situation where milk is now heated, and it's often heated over 200 degrees or even more for long amounts of time. And it seems to change the conformation of some of the proteins in the milk. And that seems to affect the quality and the way it interacts with our immune system. So there's some interesting studies with raw milk. And when I read these, I thought, wow, this is really a health food that's being underappreciated in our culture. There's one called the Gabriella study. There's another study that's very similar. Both of these studies looked at kids who grow up on or off farms drinking raw milk. So you could say, oh, kids are growing up on farms drinking raw milk. They're getting the benefits of being on the farm. But if they're kids off farms and on farms drinking raw milk, that's an interesting experiment. And what we see is that the kids who do that have lower rates of asthma, eczema, and seasonal allergies and allergies overall, which is fascinating, right? Those are all the things I had growing up. I have this atopic condition. I had allergies. I had eczema. I had asthma. And so there's something probably going on here, and we know this. There's so much research on raw milk now, the way it affects the immune system positively, unique nutrients in there that are potentially degraded when you pasteurize it, and the way that it could be just sort of programming our immune system as we are growing up or even as we are adults. The other thing about raw milk that's fascinating are the organisms and the cultures in the raw milk and how that can affect our gut flora. We don't really know this. Nobody's ever done research on how the human microbiome in the gut changes when we drink raw milk. It certainly does. But a lot of us are lactose intolerant. I don't know if you guys were, but I was growing up.
I wouldn't even drink milk before.
Yeah. I can't drink milk. I can't drink pasteurized milk. But raw milk appears to somehow affect our gut flora. And it doesn't look like it's a lactase enzyme in the milk. It's probably these bacterial cultures, naturally occurring bacterial cultures in the milk that affect our gut microbiota and allow us to digest the lactose in this milk. So now my personal experience is, hey, I was super lactose intolerant, bloating, gas when I would drink any sort of dairy. Now I can drink lots of raw milk every day, no problem. A lot of people have had this experience. So there's something going on with lactose intolerance, and there's probably something going on with the way it affects our immune system and other beneficial things in humans in terms of allergies and atopic conditions. It's a fascinating thing, especially for kids. And then you just talk about all the nutrients in milk that you get if you're not drinking it, versus drinking it, and getting a form of milk that's been from a cow, that's raised on a farm, that's fed better foods. It's all around. This is a potentially very unique food for humans that is, like you said, is sort of been separated into two different types of food now. There's like a pasteurized milk and there's a real milk, but we're not really allowed to drink that raw milk anymore. It's crazy.
I think that what I've noticed about it is that I was losing 60 pounds. And one thing that I used it for is instead of waking up and having like this big breakfast, I would wake up and I would have coffee, which is like gives me a little buzz with raw milk. And it gave me a little bit of protein, a little bit of sugar, and a little bit of carb. And so I would do a weightlifting workout and it was like the perfect pre-workout. I've noticed that it has helped me shed the weight. Is that crazy?
It's not crazy at all. Do you feel, I think it's all about satiety. Weight loss is about satiety and not being hungry. There's been this notion going around in health circles that like a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. You can lose weight eating whatever you want, which is true. You could lose weight eating donuts. but what is your experience of losing that weight going to be like eating donuts, eating Twinkies in a calorie deficit versus eating whole foods, right? And I think raw, real milk is a great thing to include in that list. I think it's very satiating. All the nutrients in there,
Totally.
the fat, the protein, the carbohydrates, an interesting balance in the milk, along with the nutrients in the milk. This is a satiating food that could keep you less hungry for longer. And that's what weight loss is about long term, is just thinking, I'm not hungry, I'm not torturing myself. It's a much better experience for a human long term, and it leads to more sustainable weight loss long term when you eat the nutrient-rich foods.
It's interesting to watch you over the last few years, because I feel like in the beginning, you got a lot of pushback, and as time has passed, you were really early on seed oils, you're really early on raw milk, you were really early on a lot of stuff.
Meat, liver, organ,
a lot of stuff.
honey.
That now, a lot of people had a really difficult time, and some still do.
Yeah.
But have you noticed that shift? Have you noticed a little bit more support over the last few
Pendulum
years?
swinging, Paul.
It's cool to see.
Yeah.
It's cool to see people finding these things valuable.
The comments have changed, huh?
They're changing. Yeah.
I think you are one of the people responsible for starting this conversation around how poor seed oils are for the human existence. Right? Like, I think you should feel good about that, because I think now the Sweet Greens, to their credit, they saw that you were part of that, right?
They got rid of it.
A lot of restaurants are now looking at this stuff. And I feel like what people were maybe calling you out there are crazy for in the beginning, a lot of people are now embracing.
It's cool to see. I love that the pendulum is swinging specifically on seed oils. I was just mentioning to you guys that one of the reasons I'm in Austin now, aside from hanging out with you guys on the podcast, is to do a documentary with Heart and Soil about seed oils. We really want to make a documentary that's more approachable about seed oils. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of confusion around the science with seed oils because of numerous poorly done studies in the 1960s and 70s. There are randomized controlled trials with seed oils versus saturated fat. But the problem, and this is a little bit granular, the problem is that in the 1960s, 50s, and 70s, we didn't really understand the dangers of trans fat. And so a lot of the control groups in these studies that were fed the saturated fat versus the experimental group who got seed oils, the control groups got trans fat along with the saturated fat. And I think that skewed the results of a lot of these studies. And so the people that are still holding on to the notion that seed oils are benign in terms of human health based on the research, I think they just need to look a little more closely at the randomized controlled trials. And when you start to do that, you see pretty clearly that mechanistically, they're horrible for humans because of their propensity to oxidize, become incorporated into cell membranes. In animal studies, they are invariably horrible for almost every animal model studied. And then there are certainly other more recently done randomized controlled trials with seed oils suggesting they're just a nightmare for us at so many levels. They seem to make us hungrier. Going back to your point, Lauren, about being satiated to lose weight, I saw this really fascinating pilot study recently. It was only 8 people, so it's a small study. And they compared oleic acid, which is the monounsaturated fat found in olive oil, to linoleic acid, which is the polyunsaturated fat that is prevalent in seed oils. And the group that got a linoleic acid-rich diet tended to have higher levels of ghrelin and resistin. These are 2 hormones. Ghrelin is kind of thought of colloquially as this hunger hormone. So this is pretty crazy to think that linoleic acid is potentially raising hormones that make us hungrier and increasing a hormone resistin that is connected with insulin resistance. And so credit to you, Lauren, because I heard you say something on a recent podcast about meat being like Ozempic. And it made me think about this. It made me think about ghrelin and hunger hormones. And I found that study about seed oils increasing our hunger.
Which is the opposite of Ozempic.
Exactly.
So that's why meat, it has been like an Ozempic situation for me, because I do feel so full and so satisfied to the point where I don't really need much else. Like the meat has made me feel so full.
Well, a lot of people, and it's so funny because I think if you get into weightlifting young, you learn a lot of these kind of tricks that we're now talking. Like I've been taking creatine since I was 12 years old, right? I've been, whenever I get a little hungry and I'm like, oh, I'm going to eat bad, I eat a bunch of protein first and I'm immediately full. And I've been doing this my whole life, but I just never thought of it. I just thought this was a normal thing.
Right.
And now I'm watching Lauren go through it and learn about this stuff. I'm like, yeah, duh. Of course, creatine, of course, protein, of course, all these things are going to have this impact. But I think it's been pushed so far out of the culture and what is common sense that people look at, it's almost like they look at someone like you or me, it's crazy, but I'm like, this is all I've done my entire life.
It makes so much sense. It's all that humans, it's really what humans have done for hundreds of thousands of years.
It's primal.
What most people do, they get hungry because maybe they've eaten something, and what they do is they binge pour foods. They go into the fridge, they have the thing they know they should, the chips, and that makes you really hungry and it's snackable. But if you go, this sounds crazy, but if you go and have a little bit of ground beef, or you have a little steak or salmon, like you're going to have less of it, and you're going to be full. And you're not going to have all of these bad, like that's just, I mean, I think, again, weightlifters have known this for a long time.
We have been on the go this summer. And one thing that I always have with me when I'm traveling is a water bottle. So I've been drinking Smart Water. I've always been obsessed with Smart Water. I just love the way the bottle is shaped. It fits in my car cup holder. I can throw it in my handbag. I can throw it in my gym bag. If I'm in a cold plunge sauna, it's easy to bring with me. And also, it's beautiful. It's just like a beautiful bottle of water. But most importantly, it's alkaline, which I am all about. So if you're looking to stay hydrated throughout your active life as well, whether you're running miles or running meetings, Smart Water can always be taken with you very easy and seamlessly. In a world filled with overthinking, they're providing a refreshing change of pace, a moment of clarity with a simple choice of hydrating with Smart Water. For me, on a personal level too, it's vapor distilled, which I love, and it has added electrolytes for a pure, crisp taste. I am someone, like I said, who saunas a lot, so I need those extra electrolytes. Smart Water also has 9.5 plus pH and added antioxidant. If you're looking to upgrade your water, choose Smart Water. Life's full of choices. Smart Water is the simple one. Visit drinksmartwater.com to learn more. Whenever someone tells me that they're expecting a baby, maybe they're pregnant, maybe they just had a baby, I tell them about a sleep hack. So I am someone that likes my kids to sleep from like 7:38 to 7:30 in the morning. And how I do that requires some strategy, right? I have to have like a plan. So the things that I do are I make sure that the room is completely dark. I like it so dark. So I always tell a new mom, make sure the room has no light coming through. I also like the room to be silent. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of like white noise, like a fire crackling, but usually I just keep it quiet. And then I always have my gently weighted sleep sack. And the brand that I have used since the end of time is Dreamland Baby. It makes total sense. I like a weighted blanket when I sleep, and it calms the nervous system. So the sleep sack with my son is I notice he associates it with sleep. So the second he sees it, he knows it's time to wind down. It's gently weighted, and it just helps them sleep so much more. I can't even tell you. It's also aesthetically pleasing, which is nice. And it's just something that's sort of a part of my son's routine. I will forever love this gently weighted sleep sack. It changed me and Michael's sleep. I can report that Towns does sleep from 8 to 7:30. And I think a big part of that is having a gently weighted sleep sack. Go to dreamlandbabyco.com and enter our code SKINNY at checkout. You receive 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. That's dreamlandbabyco.com and enter our code SKINNY. This offer is for new and existing customers. If you guys have been following along for a long time, you know that I have been on quite the journey when it comes to my hair. So I was bleaching my hair. I had really blonde hair years ago. It was breaking, like the front of it was really breaking. And I also noticed extreme shedding, especially after both of my pregnancies. And after Towns, I decided to get serious when it came to hair care. So the first thing I did was I changed my hair color to brunette, which has been absolutely life-changing for so many reasons. And I also started doing scalp massage. I do it every single morning. I use a scalp serum and I really get in there. I almost like stretch my face up with my scalp. And this has been amazing. I also started getting very, very intense about my supplement routine. And I decided that the hair supplement that I would be using would be Nutrafol. The best part about Nutrafol is it has a proactive approach and it really targets the root cause. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement, with over 1 million people, including myself, seeing thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding. Get results you can run your fingers through. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping. All you have to do is go to Nutrafol.com and enter promo code SkinnyHair. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code SkinnyHair. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code SkinnyHair.
You know, the mechanism of Ozempic, one of the things it does, it's a GLP-1 agonist, glucagon-like peptide-1 agonist. So it sort of increases signaling in this GLP-1 cascade. Well, there's studies showing that the consumption of red meat and meat in general increases GLP-1 also. So the mechanism of Ozempic and proteins, and it's not just exclusive to meat. You could also get the same effect if you're eating probably beans or other plant proteins that are non-processed. I'm not as much a fan of those, but unprocessed plant foods that have protein, unprocessed animal foods, these raise GLP-1 in the human body. So there's a mirroring here, and it makes a lot of sense that these foods make us less hungry. They create satiety. And I love that we're hitting on this point because it's something I've been thinking about a lot recently. The problem with processed food is that calorie for calorie, it probably makes us hungrier. And that is a problem because I've called this calorie prison. Look, you can starve yourself for a short amount of time, but eventually the human brain has hundreds of thousands of years of evolutionary programming that says you need to eat. And being hungry is a very, very motivating force, and you are going to eat. There's only so long that we can go being hungry and craving something before we just cave and we eat.
To me, I don't ever want to be hungry in my whole life. I want to be
feeling.
like 80% full. Being hungry sounds miserable.
And yet that's what you would have to be. So this is why calorie restricted dieting, it fails long term. The Biggest Loser, I think like 100% of the people on The Biggest Loser gained the way back at the end of the show.
Oh, that's sad. I didn't know that.
Crazy statistic.
They gain it back?
They gain it back. They all gain it back. And there's really in-depth studies showing that more than 85% of people who try to lose weight by counting calories and restricting calories without paying attention to food quality fail long-term. Because we're focusing on the wrong things.
Is that
right?
because they can't get satiated?
Because they can't become satiated. And what we know in human physiology is that when you restrict calories, you get something called adaptive thermogenesis, which makes sense to you from your bodybuilding career. Your thyroid turns down your metabolism. The thermostat on your house goes lower.
By the way, I don't know if I had a bodybuilding career. I just well, I'll take it. Actually, yes, I'll take it.
You're eminent. Yeah.
No, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it's when people, I guess like I've just been living on a moon because I wouldn't know even how to count calories if you told me. And I know it's an effective, like I know that like, there's certain people who say if you count calories, it's a sure way to
It's not
get
effective long term though, is what he's saying.
Yeah, but what I've always thought about is like when I'm hungry, I want to eat, but I don't want to ever be gluttonous and I want to be satiated.
Michael's a fourth Japanese.
Okay,
Yeah.
but
So
that's like the concept, right?
Well,
Eat till you're
I've never,
mostly full.
I think like 80% and then I stop. Like
Yes.
I don't want to, our producer Taylor, who produces for us when we're in California, his grandfather was like, you have to finish every scrap of food. I think there's a lot of people that grew up that way. Like you have to finish everything. Mine was like, okay, as soon as you're full, like then you stop eating, you don't keep eating, but you get the right kind of nutrients in there. You get the right protein sources, you get all that so that your body is not craving a bunch of poor calories, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. And I think we've all had this experience. When I'm eating a steak with like spaghetti squash or oranges or strawberries, it's like a pleasant experience. I can go through the meal gradually and kind of eat. I haven't had pizza in a long time, but when I eat pizza, it's just shoving it in your face. Like I just can't eat it fast enough because it's almost like it's making me hungrier. There's like a hole in my body and it's just passing out. It's just, you just can't eat the food fast enough. The satiety, quote unquote, that I get when I used to eat more processed food felt like I can't eat anymore or my stomach is literally going to burst or I'm going to throw up. That's not satiety. That's just physically eating to the point of being in pain. And that's when I would stop. This is my personal experience when I'm eating lower quality food. I just find it so much easier to just take it more slowly and enjoy my food. And then the satiety, the real satiety comes before I'm actually in physical stomach pain when I'm eating meat and fruit, things like this. It's a different experience completely.
Dumb this down for us because I really want to dumb it down for myself. What are the oils that we should be reaching for and when? And what I mean by that is what can we not heat up? Like, can you make it so simple?
So when you think about oils, the first oils that I'm going to use are animal fats. Things like tallow, butter,
I just got his tallow.
maybe coconut oil. We talked about tallow on the last podcast, putting it on your face.
I do it every day.
Yeah.
Because of you.
It feels good, doesn't it?
I do facial manipulation and fascia stretching with it. I love it.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay.
He does it every morning.
That's fantastic.
My kids put it on their face. I love the tallow.
It's funny because I just came to Austin and I thought, man, it feels dry here. And I had to put some tallow on my face. It was kind of crazy. I don't have to do that in Costa Rica. And then from there, I think that the next oil, so we have tallow, butter, ghee. These are the animal fats. These
Maybe
are my
coconut.
Coconut is kind of the fourth one. But as far as a plant fat, coconut oil is fine.
But you don't reach for that. I can tell. You
I don't
reach for tallow.
I reach for tallow.
Yeah.
I reach for butter. I reach for ghee.
We just started cooking our eggs in tallow because you did that post.
Yeah.
You did the best post. You guys go watch this post. He put a
The
little
stainless-
water in the pan. You should have seen me try to do this.
No.
by the way.
But okay, you
it
did
was
it.
like
no.
it was like the stepchild version.
You
of
did
yours.
it with 2 eggs that came out beautiful. Lauren put 9 eggs in the same way, and there was no. It
I
was
have
just
3 people to cook for.
no. It was a disaster.
I put the water and the tallow. But go on with what you do.
Yeah, so we can talk about that. That's a really interesting thing called the mercury ball effect on a stainless steel pan because I'm not a fan of these nonstick pans. But so we have tallow, butter, ghee, coconut oil, and then we have olive and avocado, which kind of occupy this middle ground. And the issue with olive and avocado, there are 2 things. Number one, I wouldn't heat these oils. So every time I say this, people kind of go, what? I shouldn't heat olive oil? And I say, yeah, don't heat olive oil. It's just, it has more polyunsaturated fat than the animal fats. So polyunsaturated fat, generally we're talking about omega-6 linoleic acid, and that is what is very high in the seed oils and intermediate levels in olive and avocado and much lower in butter, tallow, ghee, coconut oil. So very low in the animal fats and coconut oil, intermediate in olive and avocado, and very high in the seed oils. That's a very unstable fat. When you put that in a pan, it continues to oxidize. It's already oxidized in what you're getting from the grocery store in a seed oil. But it's a fragile fat. It's not meant to be stored. These fats oxidize very quickly. The more double bonds a fat has in its molecule, the more likely it is to oxidize and break down. It's just less likely to be strong in storage unless it's in cold storage. So I would not heat olive or avocado oil. They're too unsaturated. They're not fully polyunsaturated, but they have lots of monounsaturated fat, 1 double bond. And they have some saturated fat, and they have a little more polyunsaturated fat, a significant amount more polyunsaturated fat than the animal fats. So if you want to do a salad, use an olive oil as a dressing. That's a good thing for olive oil. But you want to make sure with your olive oil a few things. You want organic, cold pressed, single source in glass that is opaque. If your olive oil is not single source, there is a higher chance that it's going to be cut with vegetable oils. There are multiple studies now showing that when they look at olive oils, like 70+% are cut with seed oils.
Give us a brand. Pimp the brand out that we
I don't
should
actually use olive oil much, so I don't have any
You
brands.
like tallow. What's the brand of tallow that you like? Because I was on Amazon looking around and I was like, which one should I message Paul? Which one's the best?
Lineage is coming out with a tallow.
Okay, I was just going to say, when are we getting a Paul?
It's coming very soon.
Lineage, and I have Lineage every single day of my life. The beef sticks, my kids have them. My kids go beef stick. My son eats them. He's a little
How many of those
pig.
beef sticks can you eat? Because there's a decent amount of liver
I
there, yeah?
eat like 20 a day.
You can eat, that's plenty.
Michael said, Paul said you're not supposed to eat that much liver a day.
Well, I mean, the
There's
kid's
not
like
that
2
much
years
liver.
old. Okay.
There's not that much liver in them.
Okay.
You can't put much liver in the beef stick or it will oxidize and change the flavor.
Okay,
It's a little, we got as much as we could, but we can't put much. It's a little bit of liver.
Okay.
So it's more than 0, but it's not going to be a problem. I mean, yeah.
So what are the biggest, okay, at this point, and you've been no stranger to controversy on the internet, right?
Yeah, I guess.
I always, when I talk to people like that, I feel good about myself because sometimes we get some pushback. I'm like, no, we're gonna get Paul in here. He gets a lot more.
Yeah.
What are the biggest things or the biggest things you're getting pushback for now? Because a lot of stuff that you're talking about now, I think, is becoming mainstream. People are saying, yes, maybe we shouldn't have as much seed oil. Maybe you should eat a little bit more meat. Maybe
Sunflower oil's manipulative wording,
Like, what-
guys. It's so manipulative, right?
but I wanna
That's a good
know-
one. That's a fake one. That's bad.
It's a
I wanna
seed
know-
oil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to know what are the things now when you post that people are still giving you a hard time about.
Raw milk is a
Yeah.
big one. You know, we were just talking, Wall Street Journal did a hit piece. I've seen the FDA pushing back on raw milk recently because of bird flu. We can talk about that. It's kind of it's a misleading thing. We can go down that rabbit hole in a second. So raw milk is definitely getting a lot of heat right now. And then I did a post recently about seed oils and this compound called acrolein, or that series of compounds, the alpha beta unsaturated alkanes, I think. And basically people wanted to misinterpret the post and say, Paul Saladino is saying that seed oils are worse than cigarettes. Not what I said, right? Typically people do this. They misconstrue what I'm saying to try and make it seem a little more crazy, but there's
God,
a really,
I wish cigarettes were good for you. I used to love a good cigarette.
So there's a fascinating study where they looked at the heating of these seed oils in the production of French fries. And they found that there is a compound produced when you heat these oils. So the other problem with seed oils, so we talked about animal fats, we talked about olive oil and avocado oil. Those two, okay for salads. Make sure you have a good source. Don't heat them. Then you have all the seed oils, corn, canola, sunflower, safflower, soybean, peanut oil. Those are a no for me all the time. They have no place in the human diet. But a lot of restaurants, fast food restaurants especially, will use those oils to make French fries. McDonald's uses 4 different types of seed oils to make French fries. Soybean, partially hydrogenated soybean, canola, and maybe peanut. There's a fourth oil in there.
Don't ruin my Happy Meal for me. I do it like once every 2 months.
That's
Really.
okay. So the McDonald's French fry is problematic, but they found that when
Didn't they used to cook them in tallow, though?
They did use to cook them in tallow up until 1990. I can tell you the story. But when you heat the oils, when you heat a seed oil, so one large French fry from McDonald's, I think it's 165 grams of French fries. So it's a big serving of French fries from McDonald's. That contains the same amount of acrolein, which is a probable carcinogen, as 25 cigarettes.
Wow.
So this is what's fascinating about the article. I'm not saying cigarettes are better than seed oils or seed oils are worse than cigarettes. What I'm saying is the same chemicals, some of the same potentially very problematic chemicals that happen when you combust tobacco and you inhale it, happen when you heat seed oils, whether you're heating it in the pan, you're deep frying at home, or when you are making French fries at restaurants. So this is the problem. So I got a question. I got pushback on that.
Do these companies know this is occurring, or do they fight you on the fact that you're saying this is occurring?
No, it's clearly documented in the science.
Okay, so it's not like they're like, hey, this isn't happening. They're aware that this is happening.
No, it's people saying, Paul Saladino is scaremongering. He's saying that seed oils are worse than cigarettes. That's what people are pushing back and saying. And I'm saying, well, you're not really listening to what I'm saying.
What you're saying is the same thing is occurring that happens in cigarettes in this process.
Some of the same chemicals. So do we really, how can this be healthy for humans? You know, this is these are chemicals that are probable carcinogens, and they occur in equivalent amounts in 165 grams of McDonald's French fries. A large French fry has the same amount as a pack of 25 cigarettes.
Yeah, what worries me about, so I don't want to say this to sound elitist, and of course, like every third thing I say, people scream privilege, but we were just over in France, and I don't feel guilty about having pasta or a slice of pizza or whatever, and I went over there and, you know, I try to eat the same way as a protein, but when I'm there, I'm going to enjoy myself. But I don't have nearly the same feeling. If I go out and eat like I just ate here in the States, the way I did over there,
yeah,
like you're going to have to roll me out of the studio and I'm going to be sick for a week.
One of my friends from Mexico City, she was telling me that she comes over to the United States and in 3 days she gains 10 pounds. 3 days. She's tiny. She's super like thin. And she's like, Lauren, I gain 10 pounds every time I come here.
Well, it's crazy because, you speak to some Italian people and like they would find it insane that you couldn't eat pasta, right? Like they have quality sauce over there, quality pasta, quality oil, and they eat it all the time with no problem. Here, there's obviously an issue in this country where we can't manage our weight and we can't get satiated eating these things. And there has to be, people have to start thinking like maybe it's the process that's the problem.
There's something different. This is kind of a separate conversation, but there's something different about the wheat and the grains in Italy and Europe. I've just heard this too many times. And I haven't been over there in a while. I think the next time I go over, maybe I'll try pasta. I haven't had pasta in probably 12 or 13 years. I haven't had sourdough bread in probably the similar amount of time. But if I went to Italy, I would try the pasta to see how it is. And I actually saw a really great piece of content. I don't remember who did it, but they asked these guys in like an Italian pasta making operation, like, how do you do this? And it was incredible how much time it took them to make the pasta. And they said, we make this amount of pasta in a day, and a big producer in the United States might make 100 times that amount of pasta in the day. It's just the quality and probably the wheat. I mean, glyphosate is much more regulated. So this pesticide is much more regulated in a lot of the European Union, but there's something going on with European wheat. And France is a great example in general because France is the French paradox. So in France, people eat tons of saturated fat, butter, cheese, bread.
It's a rich diet over there.
And they're leaner than a lot of their neighboring countries in Europe. So what's going on there, right? If saturated fats are so bad for us and so fattening, how are the French leaner? Now, this isn't to say no one in France has ever had a heart attack or been obese, but there's something going on in France specifically and certain Italian provinces with the quality of their food. It probably has to do with the quality of the ingredients. So this is something that's interesting for me because I've had an evolution also, right? I started out being strict carnivore, thinking all plants are bad for all people. And over time, I've had to really be humble and think, actually, I think that was too strict a perspective. Cutting out all plants helped me figure out what was triggering my eczema, but now I include fruit in my diet. I include squash, which is a fruit. And I'm really beginning to believe that it's more about food quality than it is about certain foods for most people. I think a lot of people can eat vegetables. I don't do great with most vegetables that I eat in the United States, but I don't think I do great with pasta here. But I bet that I could go to Italy and maybe I could eat pasta there. So it comes back to this idea of food quality.
You need a world tour.
I could do it.
I think you should. I think from a content perspective,
amazing.
you should go over there and try and test that and
Paul
just see
does
the difference.
Italy.
I could do it.
I think you should go. We'll meet you over there. We can eat pasta together.
We'll eat pasta.
Your first time in 12 years. I want to explore something with you that I think needs to be talked about a lot because there's this thing on TikTok called Almond Mom. Have you seen this?
No.
Okay, but this doesn't have to do with really what I'm saying, but basically an almond mom is like a mom who was really strict with her diet.
Okay.
But almonds are like all the rage for a lot of people who want to lose weight. And there's almond milk, there's almond flour. I even see in my daughter's crackers that are supposed to be so healthy, it's almond something. Almonds they use as an ingredient, but it doesn't say on the packaging what almonds are sprayed with.
Yeah.
Can you kind of explore and tell us exactly all about almonds that we need to know? Because a lot of us are drinking almond milk.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have personal experience with almond-rich products. I was a vegan. I think I talked about this the last time I was on the podcast. I was a raw vegan. And this is just my personal experience. This is got to be 13, 14 years ago now. I was a raw vegan for about 6 or 7 months. And the girl I was dating at the time for real broke up with me because I was a vegan. I was so vegan at the time. I made her daughter a birthday cake and she was like, that's the worst birthday cake I've ever had in my life. This is gross. It was pretty hilarious how bad. I tried, but she hated on the birthday cake that I made.
You should get back together. You would make her a beef cake now.
I could make her a beef cake now. I think
I'm a changed man coming in with blood dripping out of your mouth from a big steak.
It was, it's ironic where I've gone since then, right? That she broke up with me for being a vegan. I think shortly thereafter, this is just the vegan story, Paul's dating misadventures. Shortly thereafter, and I was really skinny as a vegan, I had lost 20 plus pounds of muscle mass, not fat. I had lost 20 pounds of muscle. I was 20 plus pounds of muscle lighter than I am today on a vegan diet. And I'm not a big guy and a muscular guy now, but I'm not crazy large. And I was very skinny then. And one of my friends I was working in a cardiology practice as a physician assistant before I went back to medical school. And one of my friends tried to set me up with a nurse. So we all had dinner together and I was trying to flirt with her and talk to her. And I think I reached out to her afterwards or something and she never responded. And I said, Cameron, you got to check with this girl. Why didn't she get back to me? And she said, Paul, you're too skinny. She thought you were cute, but you're too skinny. It was like a light bulb went on in my head. I thought, I need to stop this vegan diet. Like I'm too skinny to get a date. Anyway, that's an aside. So almonds. I ate a lot of almonds on my vegan diet. And at least for me, and I think for a lot of other people, they caused massive GI issues. I had really bad gas. I remember going to these fancy vegan dinners where everyone sort of feels good because we're doing this intentional thing and all the food is super clean. And they would make all of these dishes with almonds, whether it was almond tiramisu or almond this or almond that. You can do a lot of things with almonds and almond flour. And I remember walking out of there with I felt like I was bloated. And
What are these vegans just sitting around farting all over the place?
yes,
Christ.
yes, that's what I had to do. I mean,
Now count me out.
yeah, I mean, without being too graphic, I would walk into rooms and think, this is a bad situation for me. It's a closed room. I can't sit in this room with people.
Crop dusting all over the room?
Yes, all of them. And I just prayed there was a couch that would be absorbent, that I could just fart into the couch
Oh my God.
for a little while so that I didn't
That's the clip that's going viral.
I just wanted to fart into the couch. So that, then if you when you get up from the couch, nobody can tell who did it. It's just like being in the couch. Or like a movie theater. Man, I pity the people who sat in the same seat of me in the movie. Remember when the movie theaters used to have those really squishy seats? I could go to a movie theater and just I could fart into the cushion.
Wait, so you
had to strategically plan your farts when you were vegan?
So wait, hold on. Not only did you strategically got to plan around every menu, you got to strategically plan around where you're farting all over the place?
Yeah, it was horrible.
No.
It was bad. So I tried, I was a raw vegan for months and months and months. My gut flora never adjusted. Anyway, almonds caused issues for me. And I think they cause a lot of digestive issues for other people. Now, I don't have a major issue with almonds if someone can eat them in moderation, if they're organic and they're not sprayed with pesticides and they don't cause GI issues for people. I think they do have digestive enzyme inhibitors and they're going to limit people's digestion. And I want people to be honest about how well they're digesting the almonds that they are eating. And I think making all of your foods almond-based is probably a pretty bad idea because The other thing about almonds is they're a nut, but technically they're a seed. If you plant an almond, that's what grows into an almond tree, right? And the minerals in almonds are not very bioavailable. People always used to say almonds are a great source of magnesium. Well, good luck getting out any of the magnesium out of the almond, because seeds hold their minerals with a molecule called phytic acid. It's a big molecule that chelates minerals, and it prevents you and I from absorbing them. And if we eat this phytic acid containing foods, whether it's almonds or oats or other seeds or grains with other minerals, we don't absorb those as well either. So this is the same problem I have with oats, other grains, is that the minerals in these things, whether it's zinc or magnesium or manganese, they're not very bioavailable. Almonds can have magnesium, but you don't get much out of it.
Is this couch good if you were a vegan eating a lot of almonds?
Wait,
it's like,
are you telling me every vegan that comes in here is just farting into my studio couch?
Probably.
Okay, I want to discuss.
Throw that thing away.
You
Burn it.
did an expose on oat milk.
Yeah.
Talk to us about milks. And I put this in quotes. Oat milk, almond milk, cashew milk, pistachio milk, all the milks.
You know, it's funny. It's appropriate that we started off the podcast talking about milk, talking about real milk from cows. Milk is what mammals do, right? The whole point of being a mammal is that you have mammary glands and you make milk for your young. Whether we're talking about a dog, whether we're talking about a horse, whether we're talking about a cow, a bison, these are mammals. That's milk. And I think it's inaccurate. It's kind of misleading that we can call almond milk the same as cow's milk. There's no milk in here other than it's white and it's liquid. That doesn't make it a milk. I think milk is a term reserved for something that's very nutrient rich, full of immunologic factors, right?
It came from a mammal.
Came from a mammal, full of whey protein, full of interesting, important vital nutrients, vitamin K2, choline, folate, riboflavin. These nutrients are in milk from a mammal. You don't have to add these things, they're in there. So to call it oat milk is just right off the bat, we've got some lobbying going. It's misleading for people because we think, oh, it's nutritious. It's oats and it's milk. It's nutritious. What I did about Oatly oat milk was striking because if you look at the ingredients in their traditional oat milk, it contains a large amount of seed oils. You wouldn't expect this, but it has. And I did a piece of content on Instagram about this, and I tried to, as best I could, put the actual amount of canola oil in the clear bottle. So I said, what's in Oatly oat milk? It starts with oats. They make the oats liquid, then they add water. And the third ingredient is canola oil. They say low erucic acid rapeseed oil is what's on the label, but that's canola oil. That's just another name for canola oil. The amount of oil in there is pretty significant in the traditional Oatly oat milk. And if you see, I had a clear bottle, it's tablespoons of canola oil in your oat milk if it's an Oatly oat milk. Now, not every plant milk contains seed oils, but Oatly does. It has this canola oil, aka low erucic acid rapeseed oil. And it also has a bunch of stabilizers, dipotassium phosphate, dicalcium phosphate, and synthetic vitamins, added vitamins, because there's no vitamin B12 in oats, and there's no folate in oats, and there's no riboflavin in oats, and there's no, multiple vitamins that are found in milk. They want the nutrition label to look good on the side of a plant, quote, milk. So they have to add vitamins to it. All these things naturally occur in regular milks. I know there are people out there who have actual real allergies to dairy, who can't do cow's milk. And I think for them, if you want to do a plant milk, do something that's just a simple plant milk, just almonds and water, maybe salt.
Milk is my favorite one.
Is it just a simple?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. See, that's much better, right? I don't think milk contains carrageenan. I don't think it has.
No, it's just simple. It's just almonds and water.
So if you want to do a nut milk, that's the best option.
I am in the Paul Saladino way of eating. I have my honey. I eat my meat. I eat my liver. I do your liver supplement. I do the Her one. If you guys are listening, this supplement's amazing for people who can't stomach liver. But I will eat liver no problem if someone cooks it for me. How I get my liver is through your supplement, but it's also through the Lineage. It's kind of like beef jerky, you guys. It's little pieces.
The little sticks.
But
I eat 16 a day, though. Is that okay?
So if you do raw liver with a little bit of maple syrup, it's not the
It's not that bad. And liver is interesting. So you're talking about the Her package from Heart and Soil, the capsules.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting because it contains actually uterus, ovaries, fallopian tubes, liver, and kidneys. It's kind of our female organ supplement, things that you would never eat on a barbecue, but are probably valuable for humans. In fact, seem to be very valuable. The reviews the two favorite things that we make, my two favorite things we make at Heart and Soil are the whole package, which is the testicle one for males, and the her package, because a lot of men don't get testicles in their diet, and a lot of women are not going to get ovaries. But they seem to have very unique benefits for men and women respectively, probably due to little things called microRNAs. It's kind of a granular conversation. The organs appear to be able to support the corresponding organs in humans. This is something we're just starting to figure out.
If you made me testicles, I would eat it. I would eat any part of the animal if you made it for me.
Women benefit from testosterone too.
Yeah, I would eat the testicles.
She's never had problems putting the testicles in her mouth.
No, I'll teabag Paul Saladino's testicles all day long.
Just
Sorry,
like-
Michael.
I don't know if I need you eating
Low-hanging
Paul's testicles. The Skinny Confidential, him and her podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp. Lauren and I could not be greater advocates of therapy, and especially online therapy. That's why we love BetterHelp so much. BetterHelp has been a partner of our show for many years now. One thing that Lauren and I have learned doing this show is that most of the high performers that come on this show have benefited immensely from therapy, because BetterHelp lets you practice therapy from the comfort of your own home, right from your own smart device, with licensed professionals that you can get paired with and switch at any time for any reason. Doing this show for as many years as Lauren and I have done, one thing is absolutely apparent is that talking through your feelings, learning new things, getting a different perspective, and just getting your thoughts and ideas off your chest is such a game changer when it comes to improving your life. So many of us go through life stressed, anxious, and bottling it all in, never talking to someone, never getting our feelings out. This could lead to so many long-term problems, including depression, anxiety, and a host of other things that can wreak havoc on your personal life. So if you've been thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/skinny today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/skinny. BetterHelp.com/skinny for 10% off your first month.
So I first got a tonal installed when I lived in LA. I wanted to kick up the strength training, and I didn't have time while living in LA to always go to a gym. So I installed it. It was super, super easy. And I just felt like it was a great way to get strength training in while taking the guesswork out of working out. So it was very streamlined to have something in your home, like a tonal, where you can get effective, efficient workouts that are personalized just for you. A lot of dedicated gym goers struggle with consistency. I know sometimes I just have so much going on and I try to get to the gym 7 days a week, but usually 1 or 2 days a week, I miss it. So to have a tonal in the home is incredibly helpful. If you're unfamiliar with tonal, it's the world's smartest and most effective strength training system. If you want to up the weights, this is a great way to do it. It's powered by AI, which is insane, and tonal learns every rep with you so it can deliver workouts just for you. It's seriously like having a personal trainer at your home strength training you. I know a lot of you have expressed wanting to build muscle and lean out, and a tonal is a great way to do it. Tonal is trusted by thousands who have become their strongest. Right now, Tonal is offering our listeners $200 off. You guys, you get $200 off your Tonal purchase with promo code SKINNY. That's tonal.com and use promo code SKINNY for $200 off your purchase. The moment that you have been waiting for is here. The Skinny Confidential sunscreen is now available on pre-order. I highly recommend going to get the caffeinated sunscreen right now because it sold out in 48 hours when we launched it. Once it gets back in stock, I cannot guarantee that it will be there. I created this caffeinated sunscreen to tighten the skin and pores before you put on makeup or just to go out into the world with just sunscreen. The caffeine gives it a little bit of a tint and also tightens the skin. It's mineral based, so it's absolutely amazing. I've gone on some vacations this summer and I have used it every single day. I've used it under makeup. I've used it alone. It's so glowy. It's so pretty. So head over to shopskinnyconfidential.com and make sure you grab the caffeinated sunscreen. It's so good. I'm so excited for you guys to try it. And if you're a big traveler, also check out Mint Roller. Those two products together, I'm telling you, it's the move when traveling. Go to shopskinnyconfidential.com to pre-order the caffeinated sunscreen.
Where I feel bad for all of us, I'm including everybody, just the general populace, is there's been such a mass programming of things. Like we've gotten so far away of how we've evolved, right? Like this would not be a strange conversation.
No.
If you were sitting down 100 years ago saying, hey, you ate the organ, you ate the snout to, what do they call, tail to snout.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
This would just be like, yeah, of course you do. It's normal. And there's been a mass programming of saying like, hey, milk and all these things are so bad for you. You need to have these fragrances and all these cleanings. Like there's so many things that I think that just the general population, ourselves included, are frustrated with, like what is good for us and what is not, and who can you trust and who can you not. Like, I imagine there's a lot of people saying like, hey, I think I'm doing a better alternative with oat milks and all these things in my coffee. And now they're sitting there like, what the fuck can I drink in my coffee?
But by the way, if someone's listening and veganism or vegetarian or whatever works for them, like I think you should do whatever works for you. I just can't shut the fuck up about this because it helped me lose 60 pounds. And this in weightlifting, I've never felt better.
But it's not just that. It's like hormone regulation and skin and hair quality and sleep quality and all these things. I mean, I think what's interesting.
I also think fertility, the Her supplement, if you're trying to get pregnant, that supplement's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's been interesting because we've been now in Texas for about 4 years. And it doesn't matter about the location as much as the things we changed when we came here.
Right.
And I'm not shitting on LA. We were just there and we were partaking in a lot of the stuff that we're talking about now. Like a lot of the seeds and the nut oils and the milks and all this, and not eating enough protein and like it just, everything since we changed and started adopting, cleaner living and eating more raw foods and incorporating more meat and getting better cleaning supplies and the things that we've talked about on this show for a while now, it's been a night and day shift of difference, not just for us, but for our kids. And so I think we're loud about it because we've seen the improvement and we want other people to feel their best selves.
You should be loud about it.
Yeah. And, I'm willing and we're willing to catch flack for people that maybe disagree or dislike it, as long as it means that some people that are going to listen if I can change 2 or 3 people's lives where they can live better, then whatever. The naysayers are always going to be the naysayers.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
I would like to know, one of my favorite posts that you did was the day in the life.
Okay.
And it's funny because I mute a lot of people on Instagram. Yours is starred. I love your content. I do.
Thank you.
I think it's really informative. I like it. It's fun. I like your personality. What is your day in a life with eating? And I know you did this on our podcast before, but I liked it so much. I would love for you to just remind the audience, like how you wake up, what you like, what time you eat, like all the different things you do.
Yeah, I'll just say as a framework, this is just what works for me. Scale amounts of food, carbohydrates, based on what people need and how active they are. So I'm pretty active. When I'm in Costa Rica, I surf 2+ hours a day. So I'm getting a ton of activity, which means I have a lot of carbohydrates. So I get up. The other thing about Costa Rica is the sun rises and sets almost the same time of the day all year round.
That's
what
nice.
time?
It's about, the sun goes down. It's about 6 and 6
Okay.
all year, about 5:30 all year round. So sun comes up, 5:30, sun goes down, 5:45, just depending whether it's like slightly longer, slightly shorter. But I'm up with the sun almost every day. So I'm
Okay.
up around 5:15, 5:20, and I'm usually in the ocean by 6 a.m. in Costa Rica and surfing from around 6:30 to 8:30 or 9 in the morning before I go to surf. So first thing I do when I get up in the morning is I go outside, barefoot on the grass, sun in my eyes. You can do that anywhere. It doesn't have to be Costa Rica. It can be Austin, whatever. What I eat in the morning is just raw milk. I'm getting goat's milk in Costa Rica. There's a great farm near me where you can actually go see the goats. It's really awesome. The goats are such cool animals. I went to the farm and you can pet the goats. They'll basically jump up and they have a pen of baby goats and you can go hang out with the baby goats. One of the guys that runs the farm in Costa Rica just sits down in the baby goats and they pile over. You can't even see him. They cover him. It's like,
So cute.
it's like little puppies. They're just the most adorable animals. And I got to milk the goats. Anyway, that farm is amazing. I get their raw goat milk and I have a local raw honey from Costa Rica. That's what I do before surfing. So
that you gave me it's my favorite honey.
It's amazing, right?
It's my favorite honey.
It's so good.
You might have to mail me some of that.
I don't know if it'll get through customs. I might have to send a courier, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Send a pigeon.
So yeah, an owl. So raw milk and honey is what I do first thing in the morning because I'm going to go be active right away. And then I come back from surfing and I will eat my breakfast. So now it's probably 9:30 in the morning and I'll have breakfast. Breakfast is meat. So I'll do some grass-fed ground beef burger or a little bit of liver, raw liver, maybe only half an ounce a day. I've been eating a lot of heart recently. So maybe I'll put a couple of ounces of heart on the grill or I'll grind up the heart and mix it in my burger. But I have a burger, a grass-fed beef burger. I have fresh squeezed orange juice in the morning post-surf, and I'll probably have some other fruit, whatever's in season. I might have some mango. I might have rambutan, which is also known as mamonchino in Costa Rica. I maybe have some watermelon juice, but that's my breakfast. It's usually meat with some fruit juice.
No eggs?
No eggs in the morning. It's hard for me to find good eggs even in Costa Rica. I think if you can find eggs that are fed that are pasture raised, that are not eating a lot of corn and soy. That's great. And that's one of the challenges for me. Wherever I go, it's hard to get good eggs. And so that's my breakfast. Then I'll usually have a snack or like a small meal in the afternoon. And it's, again, my meals are mostly meat and fruit. So I might have a little bit more steak. I might have the Lineage beef sticks with a little bit of fruit. Maybe I'll make mango juice. I've got a juicer that gets a lot of work.
Does the fruit help the meat digest?
It just feels, I think that it's something about the way that I feel when I'm balancing plant foods and animal foods. And this is a change for me.
So the fruit is your carbohydrates.
Fruit and honey are my main carbohydrates.
The carb probably feels nice. It's like a sweet treat too. What juicer do you use?
It's a stainless steel Breville on Amazon. Maybe there's a better one, but it's a stainless steel sort of like a centrifugal juicer on Amazon. And I just throw in, I'll make watermelon juice, I'll make mango juice, and I'll drink that throughout the day.
If I came downstairs and you were on your Breville juicer making watermelon juice,
be down
I
there
would
milking the goat.
Turned on. I'm just saying.
I'll be down there.
If you need an activity, I love a fresh watermelon juice.
You tell me I got to chop wood outside. I got to milk a goat. I got to get the chicken.
Wood. Nothing hotter, guys. Every guy, there's a lot of guys in here right now. There is nothing hotter than waking up to your husband chopping wood.
I'll do all that, but I'm
telling you, it's a female orgasm.
No.
The sound of chopping wood with his shirt off, that is masculine shit,
I will do
bitch.
all that, but you're going to be eating a lot of fucking balls, all right? that's the deal.
Go ahead.
Fair trade.
Go ahead, Paul.
Fair trade.
And then I might do some more raw milk or kefir in the afternoon with honey. And then dinner is maybe a steak, fruit, maybe have a squash. If I can find squash in Costa Rica, I'll mix it up and throw some squash in there for dinner. My diet is pretty simple. This is just what I've termed an animal-based diet. I don't think everybody needs to eat this way, but I think of it as a good blueprint, a starting point. And it's basically meat and fruit. The expanded version is meat, organs, fruit, honey, raw dairy. That's 98% of what I eat.
You have not talked about this, and I want to know, are you into raw cheese?
I love raw cheese.
Okay.
Yeah.
Raw cheese you're into. And then kefir, you keep mentioning kefir. Is kefir complementary to raw milk, or can you replace raw milk with kefir? Are they the same? Explain.
You can replace. So basically, yogurt and kefir are similar but different. So yogurt is fermented for a short amount of time at a higher temperature with different cultures. Yogurt is usually around 145 degrees Fahrenheit fermentation. And kefir is fermented at 78 degrees Fahrenheit, and it usually has more bacterial cultures in it. So I like kefir.
Okay.
It's not heated as much, and it's easier to make. You can make your own kefir. In fact, I got some kefir from Sapien Center here in Austin. And basically what you do to get kefir is you take raw milk, you put it in a jar, a glass jar, and you add kefir grains, and you put it at room temperature for a day and a half, and you have kefir.
That sounds overwhelming. I'm just going to go to Sapien.
Okay,
is Sapien like a market?
It's a gathering place for like-minded people here in Austin. One of my friends started it. They have like an outdoor workout space. You can buy raw milk. They do events there. They have like a cold plunge and stuff. Yeah, it's just a cool spot.
You better be careful though, because last time you were on this podcast, you blasted out a farm. And I went to see them, and I was like, what's going on? And they were like, oh, this guy, Paul Saladino, said something on a podcast.
I don't think they knew.
I was like, oh, what podcast?
They were like, skinny.
No, I also think you said it on your own channel too. Yeah. But like, people are going to go to Sapien now.
Well, it's good because I want them to support. I mean, I think It's great. Like any conduit that people can get raw milk through, I'm happy about. But
you have done Joe Rogan, which is obviously an incredible accomplishment. You've done a lot of different shows. But to me, I would like to know, does Joe, is he in line with your diet? And when you went on his show, did he pick up any tips and tricks?
You know, Joe eats similarly. I haven't seen the way Joe eats recently, but here's what happens. So Joe has done the carnivore diet a whole bunch. Joe is probably like most, quote, normal people. He likes to be fit, but he also likes to eat dessert sometimes too.
Yeah.
And so what I know is that when Joe travels, he'll go to Carbone and eat like probably 3,000 calories of a pasta dish in New York, and he'll eat pasta or he'll eat bread. And he says he feels like garbage, but it tasted amazing. So Joe wants to do both. And then Joe does these periods where he goes on only meat. He does strict carnivore for a month, and he always loses 10 to 15 pounds. He's a lot of his bloating go down. He looks amazing. He's even said on his podcast, and he told me that his autoimmune condition, which is vitiligo, sort of a whitening of the skin, a loss of the pigment cells, the melanocytes in the skin, that gets better when he does strict carnivore. And then he goes back and forth. So after I did his podcast, I told him, hey, if you add fruit when you're doing carnivore, your workouts will be better. Because the one thing Joe said about carnivore that bothered him was that his workouts suffered because he wasn't eating any carbohydrates. So after his podcast, I remember he messaged me and said, hey, I added fruit. This is amazing. I'm going to keep doing this. And I think he did that for a long amount of time. And I think he mostly now, when he talks on his podcast, is eating meat, fruit, and he's reincorporated some vegetables. That's what I know about his diet right now. But I do think that he goes to strict carnivore sometimes if he really wants to lose weight, but he likes to have dessert frequently, and it definitely helped him. I mean, he said his workouts got so much better when he included the fruit and the meat together. But I think that Joe's amazing because he's an advocate for this kind of stuff. And a lot of people that he knows in his circle have done carnivore, which is just an easy on-ramp, just eat meat, super simple, to people kind of changing their diet in a healthy way. But yeah, it's cool to see him.
What is the first thing you'll notice if you go from, eating everything to going carnivore? Like say someone wants to do a reset. What are like the first things that they're like, are they going to get a hunger spike? Are they going to, in the beginning, or are they going to feel?
They might get diarrhea.
Okay.
I mean, this is an interesting thing. So any conversation about a strict carnivore diet. So I did a strict carnivore diet for about 1.5 years, then added fruit and honey to my diet around 3 or 4 years ago because I had issues with long-term ketosis. I had electrolyte issues, didn't sleep very well without carbohydrates. But one of the things people notice when they do strict carnivore is when they go from eating moderate amounts of fiber in their diet, from salad or sweet potato, to zero fiber, is they sometimes get loose poops, they get diarrhea. This is probably because of a malabsorption of bile acids in the small intestine. And when those bile acids end up in the colon, they're cathartic and they just cause us to have diarrhea. So if people do strict carnivore and they get the diarrhea, they can just add back in a little bit of plant food, like some avocado or a little bit of fiber to just bind up the bile acids or to prevent them from being free in the colon. And that'll help with the GI stuff. Because one of the things people notice on carnivore is just major diarrhea sometimes, and that can be limiting. And I think that doing just meat for a short amount of time can be a very simple, easy to communicate reset for people. I think it doesn't work great long-term because I do think plant foods are valuable for humans. This is an evolution for me. And I'll just mention this because we almost got there, but I didn't quite mention it. So people talk about acid alkaline, right? And it's actually kind of a thing that meat contains acidic amino acids. Sulfur-containing amino acids are acidic in the human body. We don't see the pH of the blood change, but you may see the pH of your interstitial fluid, and certainly the pH of the urine changes depending on what you're eating. And that's reflecting that the body is having to buffer acid versus alkaline loads based on the foods we're eating. And so when I was eating strict carnivore, the urine pH was 5 or less, which is on the acidic side. Now that I have fruit and fruit juice, the urine pH is 7 to 8 or even 8+. So it's a much more alkaline urine, which means, okay, I think what's going on for me is that if I'm just eating meat or cheese, my body is it just feels better to say, hey, I need a piece of fruit with that. I just need something to kind of balance this alkaline acid thing going on. It doesn't change the pH of my blood. It's intuitive.
It's intuitive.
And kids do the same thing. There's amazing studies, I think from probably decades ago, where they gave kids multiple types of food. And invariably the kids go for meat and they'll go for fruit, but they will always kind of balance the two. They won't just eat meat and they won't just eat fruit.
When my kids don't feel good, they ask me for coconut water. Why? Because they want electrolytes.
Yeah.
When they are wanting something salty, like they're craving maybe magnesium or potassium, they'll ask me for chips. You know what I mean? They want the salt. It's really interesting and cool to watch them intuitively know what they need.
And I think if you gave your kids a plate with plant foods and animal foods, they would probably eat some of both.
Yeah.
Because they see the same thing. They're not just going to eat alkaline foods. That will be hard on the body, just the way that eating purely acidic foods is. And acidic and alkaline foods, one is not good, one is not bad. Within the acidic alkaline conversations, people will say, oh, if you just eat alkaline foods, you'll never get cancer. I've never seen science to support that, right? If you just eat alkaline foods, you'll push your body to be far too alkaline, which is why I'm not a huge fan of alkaline waters and stuff. You got to be careful with this. But you don't want to eat just acidic foods. And this is real science, acidic amino acids. And there's alkaline minerals, potassium, magnesium, other minerals in these plant foods. So some balance of that helps. And I think that's kind of what I was tapping into now. And I'll just think okay, I had meat and I had some milk, a lot of acidic amino acids. I actually kind of want to drink some orange juice or some watermelon juice or eat a mango right now. And then that feels better. And your body kind of calms down.
Aren't you inspired to get a juicer and juice?
I am.
Okay.
All the vegans that were upset that we called them out for farting started cheering when we said the meat eaters are shitting themselves.
I know, right?
Paul,
Michael, do you have an axe?
Yeah.
Michael, get an axe.
I do.
Order an axe off Amazon and a Breville juicer, and you'll have me forever.
Listen,
we have covered a lot of ground.
Michael is really into kiwi right now.
Okay.
I love kiwi.
Are you a kiwi fan?
Kiwi's great. I think kiwi's amazing. The one caveat I have about kiwi,
I knew we'd have a caveat.
people that are sensitive to oxalates, kiwi is one of these fruits that has more oxalates than average for fruit. And it seems to be just around the seeds. I think that the plant is just putting these oxalate crystals around the seeds. Now, if people aren't familiar with oxalates, this is oxalic acid. It's a compound made in the human body from the breakdown of certain amino acids. So we make a small amount of oxalates per day, but some foods like spinach, vegetables are probably much higher in oxalates than kiwi. But spinach, rhubarb, almonds have a lot of oxalates. Turmeric powder has a lot of oxalates. Navy beans have a lot of oxalates. These can accumulate and potentially end up in our joints. Some people who are kidney stone formers, who are calcium oxalate kidney stone formers, react very negatively to oxalates.
So you just have maybe one is fine.
Yeah, just
not
like
10.
My
moderate
favorite
amounts.
fruit though is mango. There's nothing better than a good mango.
Mangoes wait till you juice it.
Ooh, Michael.
But how do you? What's your favorite way to cut a mango?
Okay. So what I do is I don't know if this is right. I cut it 3 ways. So I cut on one side of the seed and I cut on the other side of the seed and then I cut around the seed.
Okay. Do you ever do the thing where you like cut the little squares and then just open it and eat it?
You can do that. That's amazing. If you cut half and then you cut half, then you cut the squares. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will skin the mango. I'll take all the skin off the mango. Then I'll cut on both sides of the seed. Then I'll just cut around the seed.
That sounds good. Both your ways sound good. Before you go, I have just launched a series on Instagram called What's in Your Bag.
All right.
And I want you to tell us what's in your bag. And then I also want to tell the audience we will be making a smoothie, a Paul Saladino smoothie on my Instagram stories. So definitely go watch that.
Let's do it.
So let's do it. What's in your bag?
So I've got my man purse here. It's my trusty REI bag.
I feel like you're going to pull out a goat testicle
I
or
might.
something.
So I had water in glass in my side pocket. I've got a passport. I've got my old school wallet. My sister gave this to me maybe 20 years ago. It's
Holy shit, that thing's hanging on to dear
little
life.
moldy, but it's a map of Glacier Bay in Alaska. It's got colones from Costa Rica. I don't have any US dollars in here, guys. I'm really balling. I've got 5 million colones in my wallet, which is about $10. And this is important. I have wired headphones. There are no Bluetooth headphones in my bag, right? So I use wired headphones. When I'm listening to music or on my computer, I'm using wired headphones because I still have concerns, and I don't think we have enough research to really say that the radio frequency EMF that comes from wireless headphones is safe. I have a little bit of Mariola honey that I brought for you, Lauren, and the tragic story here is that part of this spilled in my bag, not this bag, but my other bag. So I only have a little bit for you. I've got a hat, which I wear when I'm in the sun. This is geeky. I've got a tri-field meter. So this is a meter that shows you radio frequency, EMF, magnetic fields, because I will sometimes test this in my Airbnb, and I'm on the lookout for a Tesla because I want to see what the magnetic field is in a Tesla. I don't have the answer to that yet. This is my strap. This is for stretching. So this morning when I was over on the other side of town doing this podcast or this documentary for Heart and Soil, I'll take this and I'll just do like these over the shoulder
So good for you.
stretches.
We need to get one of those.
And I just love, this thing is amazing. It's just a great band. And then I've got some Lineage meat sticks for a snack. And I've got a spare t-shirt in case the one I'm wearing gets sweaty. And I've got an apple, which is an organic apple. Yeah.
Do we have a code for Lineage and Heart and Soil?
Not off the top of my head, but I'll get you guys one.
Okay,
We'll put it in the. We'll link it when we.
Let's
put it in the
do
outro.
code skinny.
Yeah.
Is it lineageprovisions.com?
Lineageprovisions.com. I have spoons. You guys have to try this. I'm sorry.
That's my favorite honey on the planet. Lineage Provisions, I just do want to shout out that I eat this every single day and my kids eat it. I said that you guys have to try this beef jerky. Paul, the best part about this jerky is that there is 16 grams of protein. Show them how little. In this little stick, 4 of them are 16 grams of protein, which is fucking insane. That's a lot of protein, right?
That's some good honey.
Yeah. So
No, I
in
eat
this,
it all the time. I had him bring it from Costa Rica.
so you may not have had this one.
No, I think that one's different.
This is the best honey I've ever had.
That's
Michael, this is not for you.
that is Mariola honey. So that is from stingless bees. Those
Stingless bees.
Stingless bees. That is a very, very special honey. People put that in their eyes in Costa Rica. It's like don't put it in your eye. It really stings. It's like a wives' tale. But anyway, that's the best honey I've ever had. So in this package from Lineage, it's 4 ounces and there are, I think, 60 grams of protein in this package.
Wow.
And we made them into smaller little pieces, but we put them in like little bite-sized things. So there's not 16 grams of protein in that one.
But in 4.
Do you leave the casing on when you eat it, or do you take it out of the casing?
I eat the casing. It's collagen. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So look at the guy's circular one here.
You're going to think this is weird, but I think it's helped grow my hair.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. I mean, we know that the nutrients in liver, whether it's biotin that's in liver or just protein in general, I mean, the collagenous proteins in meat. What's interesting is that when we make, so these beef sticks were really hard to make. I think we had 54 trials of this over 2 years to get the beef stick formulations right. We're using trim. So we're using combinations of meat and fat with natural collagenous tissues in there. It's not just like we're taking the leanest meat. So there's naturally occurring tendons and ligaments and connective tissues, like fascial tissues from the animal go into the beef stick. So that's I think where humans have traditionally gotten their collagen, not from a collagen powder per se.
I am a fan of mouth taping. I have Skinny Confidential mouth tape that I'm going to give you to try.
Awesome.
But one of the things that I'm really passionate about right now is working out our jaw. And what I like about your beef sticks is that it works my jaw out, and that makes sense that there's animal fascia in it because you can when you're chewing it's like hard to chew, but it's good for your jaw. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So,
chewing in general.
yeah. Do you ever get stew meat?
No.
Sometimes if you go to
stew meat from
if you go to a butcher, you can get stew meat.
Give me some more stew.
Every once in a while, I'll get a steak in Costa Rica, and they're kind of chewy, and the first reaction I have is, man, this is horrible. And then I think, all right, this is my jaw workout.
Yeah.
And I just chew the heck out of that. So many of the steaks you get in steakhouses now, they're just tender. They melt in your mouth. Tasty, but you actually want to chew on fascia. And it doesn't sound appetizing, but man, it feels good in your jaw.
Yeah.
And of course, as a man, I'm always thinking like, yeah, I'm getting handsome.
Yeah.
I'm just like chewing
It gives
on
you
this.
a little jaw pop. That and the mouth tape, and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
And then, guys, if you're going to go on Heart and Soil, you can use code SKINNY. Hopefully, we can get it set up with
we'll
Paul.
get set up.
I would definitely recommend the Her supplement, and it's because it has all the organs in it. Where can everyone follow you if they don't already? Go listen to the other episode he was on. Tell us where to find you.
Paul Saladino, MD, at all the socials.
Okay.
Super simple.
Paul,
Thank you,
you're
Paul.
welcome anytime back on.
It's so good to see you guys.
Go watch my Instagram stories because Paul is making us a Paul Saladino smoothie.
I promise I didn't put any farts in your couch this time.
Thank you.
Thanks
Your
for
couch
that.
smells
Thanks.
good.
Carson, get rid of this couch.
You can smell it. It's safe.